Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. Happy Friday. I wanted to get on here really quick. I haven't been on here in a little bit. I've had a sick child. We've been to the hospital. And so therefore, that is why I have not been on here. My kids are my priority and always will be. But I did want to get on here. I've had a lot of people talking about how Mercury retrograde is kicking their ass, and it is kicking my ass too. So life is a constant process of change. Remember that. And it's one thing I've learned in the past is we have to go with the flow. I've been in and out of the ER with my kid this past week, and like I said, who knows what Mercury retrograde is going to throw at you. But I did want to get on here and talk about the do's and don'ts of it. This is not going to be a long video. This is probably 10-15 minutes at most. I will get back on here probably Sunday or Monday for my full moon forecast, and I'll be doing mini readings. I'm not offering any specials right now. I'm trying to catch up with the readings that people have purchased. I have one or two more to finish. So those of you who have purchased readings, I will be finishing up those this weekend. The do's and don'ts of Mercury. We have some, disturbing news that came over the past week, and that really didn't have too much to do with Mercury retrograde, but that was more of a warning. Fell under my days of caution for shocking news, and so there were some things that were shocking. That incident in Mexico with that family that got ambushed, that is shocking and horrible, horrific news. But Mother Earth has been active. Even when I post these, I want you to look not just nationally, but you have to look at it globally, because the stars affect the whole world, not just the United States. So do your research when I give a date or a couple of days of caution. Do your research, see what's happening in the news, usually correlating with that energy. But Mercury retrograde. Now, in modern astrology, it started on October 31st, and it goes through, I believe, the 20th or the 21st. I do not practice modern astrology. I practice ancient Nostradamus method. So Mercury retrograde always lasts an extra 10 days prior and 10 days after. Some of you out there call it the foreshadows. Mercury retrograde is in effect from October 21st through November 30th. So pretty much the whole month of November, we will be in a retrograde. And retrogrades have a way of bringing the past back to life. So one of the things I can tell you about Mercury retrograde is that the past always comes back, okay? We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But when we think of Mercury, Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and it represents critical thinking. It represents duality, both male and female. Gemini's ruling sign is Mercury, and that's the twins. Virgo's ruling sign is that as well. It's all about fast and quick, thinking quickly, thinking on your feet, thinking through the mind and the tongue. It's the planet of communication and words and computers and electronics and cars and anything with wheels, trains. This always represents change in plans, and this also represents transportation, your mental process. It represents the broadcasting world, radio, television. You will notice a lot of YouTubers right now. They are not aware of this energy, but there will be a lot of YouTubers that are going to have issues with their streams dropping, or they will have issues with their camera or their mic. This is something that happens in the realm of digital media broadcasting. Also television, radio. It has to do with journalism, writing. And the one thing I will say is Gemini in general is the sign of curiosity. So now we're in retrograde, so everything goes backwards a little bit. And this is a time for you to slow down. The universe is telling you to slow it down. You have to accept the things you cannot change, and the things you can change, do so. But I give you a perfect example. Several years ago, it was probably 4 years ago, I had to go somewhere out of town, and I knew I booked my tickets in a Mercury retrograde. I booked them in good stars, but I still booked them in a Mercury retrograde. And I knew from the date I was looking at, I knew I was traveling under Mercury retrograde, even though I was traveling in good stars for myself, a positive lucky day. My flight was delayed. What should have taken me only 4 hours to get there ended up taking me 12. So when plans don't go well or they change, you can't get upset. I know it's easy to do. We're all human. You have to sit back and go, okay, there's a reason for this. Mercury is in retrograde, so we'll always remember, plans will always change, okay? Plans will always change. Nothing is going to be set in stone. It happens. It's Mercury retrograde. Like I said, it forces us to slow down and stop. It wants us to be more observant and have more retrospect. This energy also wants you to reflect and review. Review back on the past several months of what has been happening and see if the choices you made could have been done better. And also the accomplishments you have. Be happy with yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. Okay. This is actually a time, now we're in a waxing moon up until what? Sunday. Then it's the full moon and it's in Taurus. This is a time, to proceed forward. Yes. My suggestion is, if it has to do with business, tie up loose ends within your own business, but do not launch anything new. Any kind of new website, new product line, anything like that, do not launch. Continue with what you have and perfect it, make it better. But it's just to regroup, review, rejuvenate. That's also another one. This energy wants us to rejuvenate and think back on the things we could have done better so that we can do them again 10 times better. This is also an excellent time for many of you to get in touch with the high spirituality. Either take a study. Some of you out there have asked me where I've learned this method of astrology. And you really don't. I will give you his name. And he actually has his own YouTube channel. I'm trying to get more people to follow him because he's been banned on YouTube and a couple of other places. And so for those of you who are very advanced souls and really want to know and learn this method of astrology, you have to go to, oh God, what's his YouTube page? I should know this. I believe it's the Cosmic Code with Dr. Tori. Turi. If you want to learn this method, that's the man to go to. That's where I learned it. That's where my software comes from. So, like I said earlier, the past will always come back to life. People from your past will come back in this phase, whether it's old high school friend, acquaintances, old lovers or boyfriends or girlfriends, even estranged family members, things like that. I always tell my clients and my friends, and if they do come back in your life and they bring back positive, happy memories, by all means, reminisce, get out there, enjoy your company and your friends, and enjoy reminiscing about the happy times and the fond memories you've had. But if they are negative experiences, it's best to steer clear of it and move forward. And there's ways of saying I'm not available, or I'm not this, or I'm not that, or just simply, some of you out there will just say no. That's all you have to say. No. So let me get to the do's and don'ts here of Mercury retrograde. And I'm going to start with the do not. Do not begin any new projects and finish up the ones that are already set in motion. I just said this a few minutes ago. Do not purchase any property, technology, or any sort of automobiles or motorcycles. I don't care if the moon is waxing or waning. You will not be happy and you will be very disappointed in the end. Have patience. After November 30th, by all means, start buying those electronics for the holidays and start buying automobiles and motorcycles or whatever you want to do. Don't start any arguments, because usually when we start arguments, especially in a Mercury retrograde, there is confusion. There's a lack of communication. People don't express their words correctly. People don't hear it correctly. Things get miscued and jumbled. So steer clear of any kind of arguments or altercations with people, because this is, like I said, we're operating under very confusing and misunderstood energy. So that's a big one to remember. Do not make any travel plans, and the travel plans that you do have, if you're traveling in a Mercury retrograde, like I just explained my little story, you will expect delays of some sort. Mercury retrograde always brings chaotic and crazy weather, chain reaction accidents. It is, when it goes waning, when the moon is getting ready to go waning on Sunday, the news is going to take a very interesting turn, especially with Mercury retrograde and especially with the days of caution coming up for the remainder of the month. When you're driving, please drive safely. Drive on the defense instead of the offense, and don't assume anything. I always tell my daughter who's driving now this, just because they have their blinker on and it may appear that they're going to turn does not mean they're going to turn. They may just have it on for the hell of it, and boom, there's an accident. I've had many, many close calls driving in this energy, not at my fault, but at the other driver's fault. A lot of chain reaction accidents happen in this energy, bad weather, miscommunication, things like that. So just be aware of that. Like I said, if you have to travel, so be it. As long as you bought your tickets in good stars from the waxing to the full moon, you're fine. But like I said, if you are going to travel, expect delays and changes in your itinerary. It's just something that happens. Do not sign any contracts at this time if you possibly can avoid it. I know there's things sometimes we have to sign and do, and that's fine. But after Sunday, the next 2 weeks, do not sign anything. Do not start dating or entering into any kind of new relationships until this energy is passed. Now, I say this because, sometimes people get into a relationship or they're dating and they're under the realm of Mercury retrograde when our mental process is not working quite as well. Even the ones that think they're top notch and up to speed. No, you have to read, reread, and reread again to make sure you got it, because this is the energy for not getting the message correctly. So if it's the real deal, if the relationship is the real deal, then this energy, the relationship will sustain well after this energy is passed. So, but if you're getting ready to go out on a date, or you've just met someone and you're going out dating, I would wait. Now, here are the do's, okay? I think I've covered pretty much the basics on Mercury retrograde. Here are the do's. Do back up all your computer devices and electronics. So do a cleansing of your computer, clean out. That's what Mercury's about, cleaning up, cleaning house, cleaning your computer, cleaning your files. Do try and clear up past conflicts with friends and family. I know a lot of people, this is a good time to clear up any past altercations you may have had. I know that's easier said than done. Trust me, I know. There's some family members I simply will not speak to, and there's people in my family that I sit across the table from during the holidays and go, oh God, do I actually share DNA with this human being? So I get it. Double check all your appointments, plans, and contracts. Double check, recheck, make sure, because I always notice we think we have a date for an appointment. We go to the appointment and there's no appointment. Either the idiot behind the desk didn't schedule it, or you didn't write it in your book for the right date and time. You can either blame them or blame yourself. Either way, Mercury retrograde. Do use your intuition over logic. Use your intuitive side over logic right now, because yes, Mercury is the planet of thinking, but right now it's slowing. And so we're going to have to use our intuition, your gut feeling, more than anything. Like I said, this is a time of high spiritual energy. So any kind of courses in tarot reading, divination, angel cards, astrology, any kind of esoteric work, taking on a new study of any type, writing, journalism, broadcasting, will all be blessed under this energy. This is a time to get in tune with your deep spiritual side. It says here, do study up on a deep spiritual or esoteric path. Let's see, what else? Do get in touch with your creative side. We always seem to have a little more creative side to us during the retrogrades. Do take time to journal, slow down, review, clean up. And I don't just mean clean up your computer and your files, clean up around your house, declutter, and get ready for the how do I say it? Get ready for the wanting phase coming up. These next 2 weeks after Sunday is a perfect time to start cleaning out and decluttering. I would enjoy these next few days of the waxing moon. It doesn't mean you have to stop living, and I'll get to that in a minute. Let's see, what else do I have here? The one last thing about Mercury retrograde I want to say is this, and sometimes it's easier for some and harder for others. Do have patience, because if it's the one thing you're going to need during Mercury retrograde, it's to have patience. And these are universal laws, okay? If you respect the universal laws, you will get through this fine. There will be issues. Your car may break down. You may be stuck in traffic. Those are minor things, okay? Souls born with a strong Mercury, or born with Mercury in Virgo, Geminis and Virgos with sun signs especially, but also people born with a Mercury in either Virgo or Gemini, or a dragon's head and tail, or a rising sign or ascendant, as some call it. You're going to feel this energy the most. And I always crack jokes about this, because I have a rising sign in Virgo, and I have a dragon's tail in Virgo. So my Mercury is in Capricorn. So I always crack this joke, because I sometimes have a lot of electronic problems, and I always say, oh, Linda, you're a walking Mercury retrograde. So try not to be the walking Mercury retrograde, but sometimes we're prone to it just by our natal chart. Please be aware of chain reaction events and accidents that take place, especially after the full moon. I believe I just said that. One thing I do want to talk about for a minute is people who are born with Mercury in retrograde. Now, I was born with Mercury in retrograde, and mainstream education didn't do it for me. It bored me. It was boring. However, the esoteric realm, that intrigued me. Anything to do with the arts, anything to do with esoteric work. Children that are born with a Mercury in retrograde will appear to be a little slower. It doesn't mean they're stupid in any sense of the way. They just don't assimilate mainstream education as well as another child would. Um, these are usually children that are very gifted. Children born with a Mercury retrograde can and will represent certain gifts in them, like myself. Mercury retrograde. And I think back to my childhood, and I remember when I was in a freshman in high school, I had a high school counselor literally yelling at me in his office. I don't understand how you can be in a college prep English class, but in remedial math. Well, math was never my stronghold. Numerology was, but not math. So it's one of those things. Look into your child's chart and find out if he or she has a Mercury retrograde, and see if mainstream education is saying they're a slow learner and they're this and they're that. It's not that they're a slow learner. They're bored with mainstream education and how it's assimilated to them, because they have they're almost like advanced little souls in a lot of ways. So the mainstream won't interest them, and the boring and the mundane won't interest them as much as other worlds. Myself working with special needs kids, I notice this pattern with some kids. So um, when they're born with a Mercury retrograde, mainstream education doesn't interest them, but things like mythology interest them. I have one kid that can name you every damn dinosaur that ever existed, but yet he has issues with other things. I know kids who could tell you every mythological character in the esoteric realm, dragons and unicorns and leprechauns and fairy people and this and that. 9 times out of 10, they have a Mercury retrograde or a they're very ancient souls with a very ancient UCI, unique celestial identity. So, with that being said, I'm going to leave you on this Friday night with this. Remember to have patience. Take time for yourself. Take time to meditate. Take time to do yoga. Journal if you have to. Don't let this retrograde get to you. And if you do come up with issues with electronics or car problems, just know that it is the energies at hand, and there is nothing we can do about it except go with the flow, okay? I want everyone out there to be safe. I want you all to have a great Friday night. I am going to try and get back on here Sunday. I know I've lost a few followers. I know I'm not consistent, and if you walked a day in my shoes, you probably would lose your shit. Sorry, pardon my French, but I'm going through, remember, I'm a Capricorn. I always talk about the dragon head and tail. The dragon tail is riding right on me. And I have so many things going on, from my mother's house selling and me having to find her housing, to my daughter's health issues. So I have a lot going as well. And I'm sorry I'm not on here every Sunday consistently. But life happens and shit happens, pardon my French. But I've had messages from some of you that have been a little miffed with me. And so, like I said in the beginning of this broadcast, I love each and every one of you. I'm here to help. I'm here to do readings for you. But when things happen in my own family, I'm I'm for my family first, and they will always come first over some YouTube channel that I can or cannot get to. Um, I work part-time as well, so there are days when I'm busy doing homework with my kids, so, and things like that. So no, I can't get on here every day like some of you YouTubers, and I would love to come on here every day. If I didn't have to work, I'd be on here every damn day, and you would all get sick of me. Anyway, please be safe out there. Remember to have patience. I gotta keep telling myself that too. Have a great Friday night, and I will see you guys sometime this weekend. Regina, thank you for joining, and you are welcome, my dear. Be safe out there. I know for myself, my kids always remind me of this. They say, okay, Mom, Mercury's retrograde. You cannot be a New York cabbie and roll down your window and tell someone to F off. And I'm like, I know, I've got to bite my tongue. what I really want to do is roll down that window and tell them what I think, but I will refrain. And I will take my own advice, and I want everyone out there to have a great Friday night. Enjoy. I don't know what part of the world you're in. I'm in California, and it is cold here, but not as cold as the East Coast, so I won't complain, or my relatives will come at me going, lady, you have no idea. Anyway, have a great Friday night, everyone. Peace out.